To the annual cosmic brief. From the Office of Celestial Resonance, Astral Congress, to Designated Stewards, Category 9 Clearance. Distribution, Quantum Encrypted Data Stream, Biolocked to Recipient Neural Signature. Nature, Predictive Resonance Analytics, and Strategic Foresight Mandate, to illuminate the tides of becoming, purpose, and philosophy. The annual cosmic brief isn't a prophecy. It's a resonance forecast, a dynamic map of high probability psychological, social, and systemic patterns likely to be amplified by the celestial environment in the coming year. It operates on the core CFT principle. Cosmos doesn't dictate events, it tunes the probability field within which consciousness operates. Brief's goal is to provide actionable insight, allowing stewards in governance, finance, culture, and science to navigate coming energies with awareness, to ride the wave rather than be crushed by it. Structure of the brief. So each brief is a multi-layered document of approximately 300 pages, structured as follows. Celestial score, executive resonance summary, 5-page overview in plain language, going over the major harmonic themes, identification of 3 to 4 dominant celestial chords for the year based on slow-moving outer planet alignment and solar system ingress into new interstellar medium sectors. For example, a fictional 2035 theme. Saturn-Neptune dissonance in Aries, crises of visionary action, key astrocartographic windows, calendar of high-potency periods, usually 5 to 10 days each, marked not by date alone, but by resonance intensity peaks. For example, window 4, March 15th through the 24th, Jupiter, Uranus trine exact, concurrent with solar sector, boundary crossing, expect a peak in disruptive innovation and liberating breakthroughs, probability field favors technological leaps, sudden diplomatic openings, and collective urge for personal freedom, high volatility in speculative markets. Volume 2, Nospheric Weather Report. Global Psyche Forecast. Using the heliogram model, this section predicts the likely mood of the collective unconscious. Emotional climate, for example, a prevailing undercurrent of anxious idealism with sporadic flares of galvanizing anger, narrative tendencies, the kinds of stories, myths, and memes that will have viral potency, narratives of the hidden savior, Neptune clashing with defiant rebel, Uranus will dominate media. Archetypal cohort activation schedule, which specific birth resonance cohort C pillar 2 will be most activated or challenged by the year's themes and when. This allows for targeted cultural outreach or support. For example, Pluto and Leo generation born 2044 through 2045 will experience their first Pluto square this year. Expect this cohort to become vocal agents of power deconstruction in creative, leadership, and entertainment fields. Volume 3, Sectoral Impact Analysis, Applied Strategic Core of the Brief. Geopolitical Resonance Map identifies regions and alliances likely to experience tension or harmony based on astrocartographic overlays of their founding charts and current transits. Economic and resource flow projections uses quantum financial models tied to planetary cycles. Not market will go up, but the Venus-Jupiter cycle favors a revaluation of tangible assets over digital abstractions in quarter 3. Prepare for a shift in capital flows toward agriculture and rare earth minerals. Technological and scientific fertility windows pinpoints periods where the Uranian energy of breakthrough is strongest, ideal for launching disruptive projects or conducting high-risk experiments. Sociocultural fertility in crisis points predicts periods of social unrest, artistic renaissance, or spiritual fervor. Late Q4, a Mars-Pluto alignment suggests a crisis point around hidden power structures, Pluto, and collective anger, Mars. This is a high probability window for major whistleblower events or scandals. Volume 4, Prescriptive Navigation Protocols, the What to Do About It section. For governance, protocol statecraft, constructive channeling during the July Visionary Action Window, publicly launch ambitious infrastructure or space exploration initiatives to channel collective frustration into tangible progress. Preventive mitigation. Pre-deploy social cohesion programs and fact-checking networks ahead of the September Neptunian fog period to mitigate disinformation epidemics. For financial stewards, protocol capital flow, strategic positioning, increased liquidity in early November ahead of the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, which historically correlates with clarification and often reversal of overly optimistic trade agreements. For cultural architects, protocol mythos, narrative seeding, introduced media narratives that reframe limitations. Saturn as necessary discipline for a new dream. Neptune throughout the year to help the collective psyche integrate the challenging Saturn-Neptune square. Production process from data to brief. Data harvest year-round, constant stream from QCC sensors, heliogram monitors, and biocosmic databases. Grand Conclave each December. Key analysts from each pillar gather at the Area 51 Glass Library. A 72-hour synchronized meditation data analysis session. They synthesize the data. Resonance simulation. Your celestial patterns are run through the Manticore AI quantum system that models millions of probable societal and psychological outcomes. Editorial council, senior intuitives, strategists, and ethicists review the simulations, discarding low probability or alarmist tracks, and focusing on patterns where conscious intervention could be most meaningful. Dissemination. On the winter solstice, the brief is transmitted to stewards via secure neural link data packets that are experienced as a synthesis of knowledge, imagery, and intuitive knowing. Example, extract 2035 annual cosmic brief. It's fictional, of course. So here's to all stewards responding to Windows 7, the unmasking, October 10th through the 20th, 2035. Celestial signature, Sun in Libra, conjunct Saturn, opposing Uranus and Aries, Mars entering Scorpio. Resonance translation, the pressure Saturn for diplomatic fairness and balance, Libra, violently clashes opposition with the demand for radical self-oriented freedom, Uranus and Aries. Raw drive, Mars moves into the realm of secrets, power, and transformation, Scorpio. Nospheric forecast, a collective snapping point regarding hypocrisy, intolerance for structures that preach harmony but practice control, profound urge to expose hidden truths regardless of costs. High probability manifold, geopolitical 78%, major reputation ending leaks within an international body, for example, UN, WTO, sudden shocking defections of diplomats or officials. Social 85%, explosive social media movements targeting perceived institutional hypocrisy, watershed moment for transparency activism. Financial 65%, volatility in currencies or entities tied to Venusian values, luxury goods, art, diplomacy as their hidden foundations are questioned. Prescriptive protocol, statecraft, preemptively audit and disclose any borderline ethical agreements. Publicly shift rhetoric from balance to authentic justice. Capital flow. Hedge investments in image-based industries favor assets with transparent, verifiable value. For example, specific commodities, open source tech. Mythos see narratives celebrating courageous truth tellers and the necessary chaos of authenticity. Avoid defensive postures. Ethical guardrails. So the brief operates under strict protocols, non-deterministic. It must always state probabilities, not certainties, emphasizing human agency. Non-weaponized insights are never to be used for unfair market manipulation, political sabotage, or psychological warfare. Stewardship, not control. The goal is wise navigation, not the imposition of a celestial agenda. Final line of every brief reads, stars incline, they do not compel. This map is not the territory. Your consciousness, your choice, your responsibility. These remain the ultimate variables in the equation of becoming. Secrecy and society, the grand managed revelation. We're going over the core dilemma, the phase shift principle, architecture of secrecy, multi-tiered ecosystem, strategy, three horizon model of revelation, defense mechanisms protecting the process, ethical heart, why secrecy isn't tyranny. So we have about 5 portions in secrecy and society. So let's start with the core dilemma, the phase shift principle. Astral Congress operates under a foundational sociological axiom. Consciousness cannot absorb a paradigm shift beyond a certain magnitude without risking systemic psychosis or violent rejection. The knowledge it possesses is that the solar system is a conscious resonant entity and that humanity is its awakening neural tissue isn't merely new information. It's a phase shift in the understanding of reality itself, comparable to the Copernican or Darwinian revolutions, but exponentially more profound. The analogy, telling 15th century Europe the Earth orbited the Sun, destabilized theology and power structures, causing centuries of upheaval. Revealing that the Sun is a mind and planets are archetypal lenses would unravel the foundational narratives of science, religion, and identity simultaneously. The risk. A premature full disclosure would be perceived not as enlightenment, but as an ontological attack. Likely responses range from mass nihilism and societal breakdown to the violent suppression of the knowledge and its barriers by threatened power structures. Architecture of secrecy, multi-tiered ecosystem. Secrecy is not a monolithic lie, but a sophisticated information ecology designed to meter the truth into the collective psyche at a digestible rate. Tier 1, the Inner Sanctum, the Congress Corps. Composition, 300 individuals, architects of the three pillars, master intuitives, and key dual citizen stewards. Knowledge, unfiltered direct experience. They have witnessed the heliogram, participated in off-world conclaves, and interfaced with NHI proxies. Bear the psychological burden of the full picture. Security, neurological fidelity locks, attempting to divulge core secrets under duress triggers, cascading neural scramble, protecting the data via intentional non-harmful amnesia. Tier 2, stewards, the implementers. Composition, 10,000 globally. Recipients of the annual Cosmic Brief, presidents, central bankers, influential scientists, tech visionaries, and cultural auteurs with the clearance to receive strategic foresight. Applied, not foundational knowledge. They receive the what and when, high probability resonant windows, and the how, prescriptive protocols, but not the full why, the complete CFT mechanics. They believe they are using a hyper advanced predictive science, which is true, but are shielded from its consciousness shattering premises. Security, biocognitive encryption. The brief is understood intellectually, but its deeper truths resonate subconsciously, guiding action without corrupting their fundamental worldview. Tier 3, the veiled academia and culture seed planters. Composition, millions, academics, artists, filmmakers, writers, and journalists subtly influenced by Congress-guided grants, residencies, and curated experiences. Knowledge, fragmented and metaphorical. They receive inspiration, artistic visions, compelling philosophical questions, or intriguing scientific anomalies that point toward the truth without stating it. Physicist develops a new quantum theory of resonant systems. Filmmaker creates an allegory about planetary minds. Musician composes symphonies based on orbital harmonics. Security, plausible deniability, and the genius myth. Their breakthroughs are seen as personal brilliance or cultural trends, not as drip-fed revelations. This layer creates the cultural topsoil in which the future truth can eventually take root. Tier 4, the public, the preparatory ground. Composition, global population, knowledge, graded exposure through entertainment, myth, and soft science. Blockbuster movies about benevolent cosmic consciousness, popular spiritual apps that use binaural beats based on planetary frequencies, academic papers on biocosmic rhythms, and reputable journals. Framed as a quirky interdisciplinary study, the goal isn't to teach but to normalize the vocabulary and emotional texture of the coming revelation. Security, the sheer scale and noise of the information age. Congress-placed concepts are lost in a sea of content, felt as a vague, growing cultural mood, rather than a directed message. The strategy, the three-horizon model of revelation. Congress manages a centuries-long timeline for integration. Horizon 1, now through 2070, normalization and patterning. Goal, make the components of the truth culturally familiar and non-threatening. Methods, mainstreaming astrology as a personality tool, popularizing astronomy, funding psychedelic research, exploring non-ordinary states of consciousness, and promoting systems theory in education. Archetypes are repackaged as psychology, resonance as vibes. Horizon 2, 2070 through 2150, synthesis and crises. Goal, guide humanity through the inevitable collapse of the old materialist atheist versus religious fundamentalist dichotomy as evidence becomes undeniable. Methods, leaking irrefutable but puzzling scientific data, for example the confirmed pattern effect of planetary alignments on quantum random number generators, supporting the rise of a new holistic paradigm that can hold both science and spirit, using the annual brief to manage the global crises that will arise from this cognitive shift. Horizon 3, post 2150, conscious integration. Goal, full open disclosure and the establishment of a solar-centric civilization. The vision, a society that consciously educates its children with biocosmic profiles, coordinates major endeavors with the cosmic brief, and engages in planetary scale consciousness practices, planetary therapy, as part of its civic duty. Humanity becomes the conscious prefrontal cortex for the solar logos. The defense mechanisms protecting the process. Mimetic immune system. Congress actively monitors for and gently counters premature crystallization when a truth fragment is taken up by a dogmatic or extremist group. For example, dangerous cult forming around a distorted piece of CFT. They use cultural counter-narratives to defang and recontextualize the idea. Guardian role of dual citizens. Congress members within agencies like NASA, the UN, or major intelligence services have a primary mission to redirect or obfuscate any hard evidence. For example, civilian telescope capturing the Dome over Neptune that could trigger a chaotic, uncontrolled disclosure before society's ready. They are the gardeners weeding out the truth before it sprouts in the wrong season. Sacrifice of credit. Every major breakthrough inspired by the Congress is deliberately stripped of its cosmic origins. Scientist who revolutionizes physics with a Congress nudge idea wins a Nobel Prize for her genius, not for her connection to a secret society. Congress values evolution over attribution. Ethical heart. Why secrecy isn't tyranny. Congress's justification rests on a paternalistic but data-driven principle. Patient must be strong enough to survive the cure. They see themselves not as rulers, but as midwives and doctors for a species undergoing a traumatic, glorious birth into cosmic adulthood. The ultimate test for disclosure isn't a date, but a metric. Has the noospheric heliogram achieved a sufficient baseline of coherence and resilience? Are global conflict, existential anxiety, and epistemic rigidity below certain thresholds? The brief itself is the primary tool for lowering these thresholds. The final secret they keep from everyone, even some of their own, is this. There is a failsafe. If the Congress itself ever becomes corrupt or seeks to rule rather than guide, the very celestial forces they study will resonate against them. The system is designed so that a society out of sync with the solar logos, including a tyrannical Congress, will inevitably create its own dissonance and collapse. Their power is contingent on their alignment with the harmony they serve. In essence, the secrecy is a chrysalis. The society within knows the butterfly's form, but dares not pierce the shell too soon, lest the transformation fail. Their solemn burden duty is to regulate the temperature, buffer the storms, and listen for the moment when the struggle within the shell ceases, and it is finally time for the new being to emerge into the sun. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one. If you subscribe and like, of course, if you dare, to learn advanced astrology with yours truly, Piscean X05. We'll see you there.